Well, hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Lady Creators. Today, I have the beautiful Krysty with me from Purple Dog Sober. Now, the first thing we're going to do is ask her, where did this company name come from? What do you do? And then we'll dive into all the other fun things. So tell us.
Sure. So I work with women who are sober curious, or who want to get sober or sober curious, and help and support them in that process. Purple Dog Sober came about because creativity is a big part of the work that I do. And Purple Dog, a lot of us start drinking to cover up parts of ourselves, to hide who we are. And Purple Dog is that sort of symbol for like that kindergarten teacher who tells you you can't color the dog purple, you can't color the sky green. Like it's that kind of thing. And that's where I think we start putting judgments on ourselves and we start hiding ourselves. So that's like Purple Dog is like reclaiming that. Like you can paint the dog purple. You can paint the dog whatever color you want. So it's that space to explore and create it and figure out who the hell you are.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm so glad I asked that question because that is a beautiful segue into creativity. But first, we'll talk about your own journey to becoming sober, like that this is a catalyst for your own transformation that the business was born from.
Yes. Yeah. So I got sober in October 2018 and didn't know what I was really getting into. I knew I was drinking too much. I'd just gone through a really stressful divorce and was drinking a lot when my kids were at their dad's, sitting around the kitchen table on my couch. And, I knew something needed to change. So I reached out to a health coach. I said, hey, you know, what can we do? She suggested, why don't you quit alcohol for 30 days? Just see what happens. She herself had quit it for a year. She said it changed her life. I was like, okay, maybe not a year, but I have 30 days in between. I had a really bad weekend. And then in 30 days, I was going to visit, going to an all-inclusive in Mexico with my college roommate. So I was like, perfect, 30 days, detox, great. About 2 weeks into it, I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. I never want to drink alcohol again. Like literally, I had that feeling because it was clarity. I wasn't waking up foggy. I was starting to like trust and intuition and feelings, and I could just sort of feel. I felt different. I felt so good. So that I just stopped drinking. That was almost five
Yeah,
years ago. So yeah, all the work that I do and the what I do with my clients, it's all tested on me. I'm client zero of all this work. So I put it through the ringer first.
well, I will say this, we look at astrology and human design here. So I did have a peeksy poo at your charts just to kind of see like, okay, where does some of this stuff come from? And having Pluto in your first house, which is your identity, is that there's always an evolution, a transformation, kind of like a death, transformation, and rebirth of who you are. It will continue to happen in the most beautiful ways, but this is a coach you can trust. She's walked the path. She's teaching from experience. She's not leading you from a book. She's literally
Yeah.
walked this out herself. And these are the tools and strategies you used for not only becoming sober, but being curious about what the potential could be for you once you were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it is to I really bring a lot of co-creation to the process with my clients too. I don't have a set program I take people through. I don't have like the 12 steps, the 5 steps, the whatever steps. It's really everybody's individual journey. I mean, there's lots of overlap between different clients that I have. So I do end up using similar things, but everybody's journey is so different. So it's very much like that co-creation. Let's see where you are, where you want to get. And we create it together, which I
And you
think
have
is just much more meaningful because then it's not following somebody else's like, here's a checklist, go through this checklist. Okay, great, done, you're healed. There's no, that's I think sometimes think the hard thing with the step program is sometimes depending on how it's interpreted, it can be like, okay, I did all the steps, I'm done. And I feel like once you get through those steps, that's when you're just starting, really.
yeah.
So this is like a lifelong evolutionary thing. And the way that I work and teach my clients is I make it a part of their life.
And it's interesting because we recognize like the 12-step programs, Alcoholics Anonymous, as, being like kind of there is an undertone of guilt or shame that comes with this, and this repenting you need to do. I think it's a very church-based programming. And while you do co-create, you still have a method to your madness. Like there is a methodology that you use, and it happens to integrate more of the emotional side of things as opposed to it just being like, you say, do these steps and you'll be cured, healed, whatever you want to call it, sober. Yeah. But there's a really, and I think that this is why it's so beautiful what you're doing for women, because you're not only helping them to heal this part of something that may be draining their energy, you're bringing the vitality back into their life. You're allowing them to access their emotional selves and be creative. So talk to that.
Yeah, so much I could say, but I think that, yeah, that's absolutely what it is. I think with a lot of AA programs, I mean, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to sort of go, figure some stuff out. But I think that there is life beyond that for sure. And I know people who've gone through that program and they wake up every morning and look in the mirror and they say, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. That's that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, fuck that. Like that label is not you anymore. So get rid of that label. Like I don't have a drinking problem. I used to have a drinking problem, not anymore. I don't drink. You know what I mean? Like that, just reframing it even like that. And I think also there's that, that sort of resentment, that bitterness, like everybody else can be normal and I'm not. I'm this problem person. I have, this guilt,
and you have
this
to carry
shame,
it for life. You have to carry the shame for life. And I think, the way you're doing it is so liberating and so beautiful and so powerful. Like it really gives you your power back.
Yeah. And I talk a lot about, work with my clients a lot around bringing joy back into their lives, because by the final time you think that you might have a drinking problem or, you need to drink less, there's not a lot of joy in your life often. Mm-hmm. You're often with the same people in the same places, hearing the same stories, doing the same thing, which is just, powering through your bottle of nightly wine, and no judgments. Cause that's where I was. That's exactly what I was doing. So we talk a lot about bringing joy back in their lives. What did you used to like to do? What have you always wanted to do? Let's build some of that stuff. And it doesn't have to be these big dramatic things. It can be sitting outside on your back deck for half an hour a day in the sunlight. Like it can be those little things that bring so much joy to your life that you don't even know you're not having those moments. Or connecting with your kids, reconnecting with your families. A lot of the women I work with are moms. And when you're sitting on the couch and that alcoholic kind of bubble wrap is between you and your kids, there's sometimes not, and as your kids get older, they know what's up.
Oh yeah.
So you're losing some of that connection. So it's about just bringing all that stuff back into your life and reconnecting with yourself first, because that's the connection that goes the first. I think when you're drinking a lot, you forget who you are. You don't know who you want to be. You don't even know what you like at some point. You know what I mean? Like you're just, so I think that it's all these things. It's, but I don't know. It's that one piece that we seem to never want to look at. Even like, society, it's just, we question everything else we put in our body, but we don't question our alcohol. Like I didn't even know what was in alcohol until I quit drinking. And I'm like, why am I putting this in my body? Like, what?
Because it's social and it's celebrated and it's a thing we all do. And like, you talk about the self-care piece, and I'm guilty of that bathtub photo with my glass of wine. Like I'm so guilty of that. But the thing is, it's always been sold as like a reward and a celebration and like, you've done a great job. Now you go and get to have this, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with cigarettes. You think about like the cigarette industry and how it was sold as celebrated as a very sexy, alluring thing. And we all want beautiful, sexy things in our lives. Like most of us, are drawn to those things,
Yep.
but those things aren't always all good for us.
No, and I think, I mean, alcohol, I mean, cigarettes, not great to use them, but I don't think that they ever tore families apart. I mean, alcohol does a lot of damage
Of
on a
course.
lot of levels. Um, so I think that when you start to look at the messages that you're getting from big alcohol, it's like, no, this isn't good for me. It's not good for my body. It's not good for my family. It's not good for my soul. It's not good for all these pieces of me. So stepping back and just exploring it. And I think it just starts with that curiosity. Like,
Mm.
what if I didn't drink tonight? What would happen? What if I didn't have, 2 bottles of wine on the weekend? What if 4th of July here in the US yesterday, what if I didn't sit on the dock and drink all day? What else would I
Yeah,
have done? Like just that, it's
your
just, and it's
energy.
no judgment because I've been there, done that, burned the t-shirt. Like I've done all those things.
Hmm.
So no judgment, but it's just like, it's bringing that curiosity and exploration and like, hey, just what if?
I
I
love
think
it.
that's the bottom line of it.
I think for you too, your Venus is in Cancer and you are a very nurturing, nourishing person by nature. You're like the mother of the zodiac who wants to take care of all the people and to like make sure everybody's okay. But like the last person you take care of is yourself. So
Yeah.
there is this element of that reminder. How do I start at home first? How do I start at my home first? Me,
Yeah.
myself, and begin to transform there. And this is why, being able to trust you as a coach who's walked the path, like, that you've got your client's best interests at heart and you recognize and see them as the mothering figure themselves. Maybe
Yes.
not a mother, but you still recognize that, within them and helping to strengthen
Yep.
that energy within them. So
Yep.
tell us about how you integrate creativity into your work. So do share with me about your beautiful book and how that works.
Yeah, so it's a process I call radical sketchbooking, because I think when we talk about a sketchbook, people right away in their head get the idea that you're going with some pastels and an easel by the river, set up your easel, you're going to do this beautiful sketch. This is not that. This is put on some punk rock music, heavy metal, and just like thrash it out in your sketchbook with words, pictures, images. I deconstruct the whole creative process because that, of course, is one thing that I know when my clients reach out, they're like, "Oh, what if I'm not creative?" It's like you are. But I use like a old key card or a expired gift card. This is your painting tool. So it's like not even because art and creativity is so triggering because we were told in kindergarten, you're doing that wrong. That's not how you do that. So even sometimes a paintbrush can be really triggering for people because they have
Interesting.
not great associations with that, right? So this is what I use. Everything else is just like newspaper, magazine, junk mail, ripping pictures out, putting them in here. Do a lot of writing with my clients, like some prompts, but this becomes a manual, a explorer's guide, a guide to you, who you are as you're going through this process. And it also just becomes a coping strategy. So I often tell my clients to keep this where they used to keep their wine or their glasses of, or whatever they were drinking. So at 5 o'clock, when you go to get the wine, guess what's there? Your sketchbook. So you take your sketchbook, you go sit at the table, you set a timer for, 15 or 30 minutes. And then after that, you see, like, where am I? Like, do I even want that wine? What's going on? What am I processing? It's getting in touch with yourself because you've most likely lost touch with yourself if you are drinking regularly, which is, maybe not every night, but if you're having a couple glasses of wine, 3, 4, 5 nights a week, you're most likely lost touch with yourself. So it's just about figuring shit out.
And
It's about dealing
reconnecting.
with your emotions.
Mm.
One of the exercises I teach is the rage page, which
Yes.
is you're just dumping, all that stuff that comes up. Because if you're not numbing with alcohol, of course your emotions are going to get messy.
Yes.
Nothing to be scared of, and I walk everybody through that. But they will come up, and they're supposed to, because you're a human being. You're supposed to have these. And I know they can be really big. I have really big emotions. So I've had to learn how to just harness those, rein those in, stay focused on the present as much as I can. But the rage page is just dumping everything in. Then you get to paint over it, maybe put some words, maybe images. Sometimes I'll just put a quote that will sort of like reframe the whole thing.
Mm.
And it's just this becomes a book you can look at when you're dealing with hard shit.
I love that you talk about how you have a lot of big emotions too. And well, you're an emotional manifesting generator when we look at your human design. And that is there's a lot of energy flowing
Yeah.
through that body of yours. And
Yep.
when it gets cut off, it kind of has a little bit of a kaboom. If you think about how a hose gets kinked and the water
Yeah.
can't flow through, that's like you get these little like
Yeah.
moments, and being able to channel that energy into something like you've created there is so great. And it
Yep.
also helps you to understand better how your emotions want to flow. And for your clients,
Yep.
teaching them that emotions are literally energy in motion and they need to go somewhere. So why not put
Yeah.
them in this beautiful book
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah, and then I
reflect?
have a bunch of others. This is not the oh, this is my one of the main tools I use, but I have a whole bunch of other strategies. But I feel like that's also probably why I drank a lot, because I did not know what to do with my emotions all the time. Like, I remember when I was like newly married, probably like late 20s, I felt like my skin was on inside out. Like I just felt everything. So I think that is part of the reason why sometimes women get stuck with drinking, because they feel so much. And not just women, men. I think men the same. Like that super sensitive kind of soul can sometimes just get lost because it becomes a bit of a survival
And it's
mechanism.
not okay. Like, it's not okay to show your
Yeah,
emotions. It's not okay to be emotional. Like,
right.
boys don't cry, or like even for
Yeah,
women it's like, why are you so emotional, why are you so sensitive? Well, like, you
yeah,
just are.
yeah,
It's part of
yeah,
my makeup, so I'm denying part of myself because I'm not
yeah,
allowed to express that. So
yeah,
in this way you're sharing, like with the rage page specifically, like you can rage it all out,
yeah,
and then you can cover over it and give it a new
yeah,
version, which is I think
yeah.
that is absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you made that up or like you found
I
that
think
from
I did.
somewhere, but
I don't know.
it's
I'm gonna
freaking
take credit
genius.
for it.
We're told, like, I know that everyone's like, I need a rage page. There's times where that's just like so necessary. Like a freak, I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me, because when I look at your chart, it just screams to me spiritual queen, and your knowledge around astrology and human design is limited. I know we kind of like talked about that a little bit,
Yeah.
but hopefully your curiosity is becoming more.
Oh yeah, I'm totally open to all that
She's
stuff.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like when you look, you have a lot of water in your chart. So when we look at your astrology, you do have a lot of water, and that water makes you hyper intuitive, tuned in, tapped in, sensitive, but beautifully aware. So you're very aware, and there's a part of your energy that is definitely here to make an impact. With
Mm.
your
Yeah.
people, with like your audience at large, but it's also that you see so much before they see it, it almost freaks them out because they're like, she's in my aura. Well, you have an aura busting energy. So it's like you can get all up in people's business, but in the best way possible. Like when you're a clear
Right.
channel and your intentions are from that pure place of just nurturing, supporting, and loving them
Yeah.
through the process, there's
Yeah.
nothing that can, prevent that flow.
Yeah. I That totally resonates. I go all in with the work I do. I it's a real big important thing for me just to really like disrupt the big alcohol industry. Like that's kind of my end goal. And just to make it and to normalize it. Like why I don't think it means anything, because I think the old way is like, you're either an alcoholic and you're an AA or you're not. And
You
those
know,
are the only two choices. But
yeah.
it's not. It's like, so I work with gray area drinking women, and anybody who's on, it's a spectrum. And anywhere on that spectrum, you have the right to explore your relationship with alcohol. You don't have to wait until you're at end stage before you look at it. If you feel, and I truly believe, I felt this way, and most of my clients, they know deep down at like a soul level, something's not right. Something that's not right with my drinking, something's not right with how much alcohol I'm drinking. And they know that. And it's like your brain has to kind of catch up with that. And
Because it
when
was
they do,
sold,
that's when they
it
reach
was
out to
sold
me.
this vision. Like it
Yeah.
was sold a vision of like, but this is pleasure, but this is a gift, but this is a reward for me working so hard or doing so much or blah 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 blah. And then your heart is like, but I don't feel good. And this is the disconnect, right?
Yeah. And it's like you're that's what adults do, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do as a
That's what you're
grown up.
supposed
And
to do when you grow up.
if you can't do that, then you have a problem. And you're the one that it becomes like a very personal thing instead of it's an addictive substance.
Yeah,
Like that's
100%.
what it is. It's not like it's a non-addictive substance and then some people have this random problem. It's an addictive substance.
Yeah. I love that you're giving people permission to explore or be curious about their options. There are other options, I will say. And I know like we've had this brief discussion previously, but like I ordered some I won't want to call it fake wine, but whatever you call it, like non-alcoholic wine.
Yeah, alcohol-free wine.
Oh my God, I was like, what is this garbage? This tastes like horrible tea gone wrong. I'm like, I can make a better tea than this. It was awful. And it was $30 a bottle. And I'd ordered like 4 of them. Like, oh God, dumping this down the drain. And just different things like, because I'm curious myself. Like, this is why I'm like, this is such a curious conversation because like I bought some fake gin and I was like, this stuff is garbage. Kind of like makes me now want to go and like get into the business of making non-alcoholic booze
Yeah.
because, or whatever you call it, because I was like, this is awful. I've not had a good one yet. So I know you've got a list. I know you have options, and I want you to
Yeah.
give us your list so that we can, explore.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are some good ones out there. It's a matter of, yeah, having someone sort of vet them for you or just, yeah, playing around and seeing. But I also work a lot with my clients instead of just replacing like one-on-one, like just try playing with something different, like making up your own drinks or not relying on like the alcohol-free version of it. I'll just give you 2 quick examples. Like one, I used to drink gin and tonic all the time. Like that was one of my favorite drinks. I mean, at the end I was drinking whatever, but like that was one of my favorite drinks. And I realized it's the tonic flavor I love.
Mm-hmm.
So now I just have tonic and lime, and it is just as refreshing, if not more so, because I'm not stumbling around after, 3 or 4 of them. And honestly, I can really only drink one because now it's just like I have the taste of tonic and I'm good. So sometimes it's not even, we think it's the alcohol, but it was the tonic flavor that I loved. And then the second one a friend gave me a bottle of alcohol-free whiskey a while ago, and I made a drink with it just to try it out. And it actually I didn't even drink it. It was the smell. The smell took me back to myself 4 years ago, sitting at my kitchen table, lonely, depressed, newly divorced, feeling like shit. Like that smell took me back. And
Wow.
I was like, I don't want that in my life. That's not who I am anymore. So I don't want that smell in my life. So I think sometimes I go back and forth. If it helps a client, get and stay sober, 100%, let's work and find something to replace it. If it's not something you need right away, put it off for 6 months and just see what other things you might like to bring into your life rather than the alcohol-free thing. Because sometimes, if you're slamming a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer every night, there's
I'm like
something that's
laughing,
still
but I'm
there.
like, yeah,
No, but
it's,
you know what I mean?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. If you're
And
drinking 2 bottles of alcohol-free wine every night,
yeah,
that
and
you're not
it's not
you're
even the
not
same
really
thing.
looking at
It's
the
more
issue behind that.
like you mentioned before, and I think this was just like our previous conversation. So I want to bring it up again was about it being such a ritual. And I believe it is such a ritual.
Yeah.
Like it is such a
Yeah.
habit. So it's breaking the habit or redefining the habit, and giving
Yeah.
yourself new tools. So that is
Yeah.
also something Do you have any tips on, oh, you use the book is one
I
way.
use a sketchbook. Lots of other things. Again, it's always like having a plan, not just a plan A, but having plan A, B, C, D sometimes, right? So, because you never know what that day, what you need that day. Because it's not always the same thing. When you're drinking, yeah, wine's always the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like there's funny memes about that, right? But when you're not drinking, you don't know exactly what it is. So you might have to go two or three through a couple different tools to figure out what it is that really resonates with you. So sketchbook is one thing. I always recommend just getting outside, going for a walk, sitting in your backyard, playing with your kid, whatever kind of thing. If you're by a beach or a park, like getting that disrupts a lot of stuff. And that helps with the neurotransmitters. Like there's science behind that, like why going out into a treed area or by the water, like why your body responds to that so well. Things like cold showers can be helpful. Movement, running, whatever other activity, you want to do, community, connecting with people, reaching out to friends. Those are all sorts of ways you can help with that. And then a lot of it, in AA, they talk a lot about avoiding people, places, and things, that were involved in your life when you were drinking. But if you're drinking on your couch with your partner, your husband, like what are you doing? Like you can't
Bye-bye
avoid the
couch.
couch.
Bye-bye husband.
Right. Like there's only a limit, right? So sometimes it's about reclaiming that. Like, how can we reclaim that? How can we have a different ritual? So at 5 o'clock, instead of reaching for the wine, you're going to do something else together, or you're going to do something with the kids, or you're going to go maybe meditate for 10 minutes. I mean, and there's a whole
Beautiful.
bunch of
I
different
love
things you
that.
can put in. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
now
it's that thing.
it is that thing. And those are like amazing examples to help you, not only distract yourself, but like disrupt your old routine and give you
Yeah.
something new to do. Now let's talk about creativity, because this podcast is Lady Creators and we're all about empowering the creativity or the creative within us, the creator who wants to be seen. So, where in your life did you have to kind of like cut off your creator self, or where you were so disconnected? I kind of feel like I know the answer to this already, but where did you cut yourself off in your creativity? At what time? Maybe it was like earlier on, maybe it was later on, like whenever it was.
I think the first place that got cut off when I think about it is in high school, when my school I didn't fit into the art classes in my school, because I'm not someone who was going to take a sketchbook down by the river with some pastels and do a still life. Like that is not my art. That is not my jam. That is none of the things. I am like the messy, all over the place creator. So that was the first thing I was told. The art that I was doing was wrong. So
Mhm.
one place, I kept writing's always been a thing in my life. I have boxes and boxes of journals. It's ridiculous. But I put away my paint like kind of in high school and then forgot about it. And then, when I started drinking, that filled up a lot of time. And so your world becomes pretty small. It becomes pretty black and white at that point. When it's like the thing you do for a couple hours every night. And not that I wasn't slamming stuff down. My drinking does not, I think that there's this idea of what I was supposed to look like. Like I was never, waking up at 6 o'clock and cracking a beer open. I was never, drinking at noon. I was never homeless. I never lost my job. My kids weren't taken. Like, I was a pretty regular looking drinker, but yeah, just you come home from work and you have a glass or two of wine and that's your night. You're not motivated. You don't feel like doing anything. You're disconnected from yourself. You don't even know what you like. And I've also always been a big reader, but sometimes, that ebbs and flows too, sometimes with what I feel like consuming. I always try to create more than I'm consuming. So I try to keep that balance in my life with
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
not getting stuck in just consuming other people's creativity.
Yes,
It's trying to
totally.
create my own.
well, I was like, I'm just looking, I was like, okay, where's her Mercury? So your Mercury is in Virgo and it's conjunct your South Node, which is just always this element of, you're best communicating from your self experience. So it's like
Yeah,
you are definitely very exploratory. You need to try things. No one's going to tell you how it's going to go. You got to try it out for yourself. Like it's
oh
kind
God,
of a thing,
yes. Yep.
you can't get away from. But there's
Yep.
it's like, oh damn, maybe that wasn't the best idea, but you learned a lesson. That's it's
Yeah.
always taking you from there to
Yes.
there. And this is part of the
Yes.
balancing energy. So,
Yeah.
okay. That's a couple places you lost your creativity. And then, you've really brought it back in your business. Like, what a beautiful way to
Yeah.
bring your creative self alive again is in your work. And then sharing that with like nourishing other women's creativity. That's so Venus and Cancer. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it's so important because I think it is just those parts of yourself you put away, like
Yes.
you think you need to. And
And you
there's
lock,
so much power in it.
you lock, it's one thing I've noticed. I lead, I teach, I've done it to myself where you've cut off parts of who you are to fit into a mold or a box that really
Yep.
isn't something you want to do, but it's like it's kind of the only option being given. And we're so used to taking what is being given that
Yep.
we don't explore options and we lob off parts of who we are. And
Yep.
the first thing to go is your creative self because it's the
Yep.
most out of the box thing. So let's cut
Yes.
that off and throw it out. And then we start to
Yep.
feel these weirdo phantom pains like, I feel like I'm missing part of myself. Well, you are.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
are. So I love that you're helping reintroduce
Yep.
this in your
Absolutely.
work and returning vitality and joy. So is there anything, you want to leave our listeners or our viewers who are watching us on YouTube? Is there anything you want to leave with them or lead them
Um,
to?
I feel like just being curious, like when you are thinking about, whether this conversation is, making your wheels turn in your brain or whatever, like just it's that curiosity, just a leaning into it and exploring what could be, what might be, what you want to create. I a lot of the questions I ask my clients is, does alcohol support the life you want to create? Without judgments, no judgments in that. But that's what my big turning point was. Like I was like, it was messing my life up. I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to be doing. Yeah, I had that list, that someday list. Yeah, yeah, I'll do that someday. But I never got to that point because you just sit around and talk about shit when you're drinking, right? Like you're not doing any of those things. So just that curiosity and be open to questions and bring a lot of playfulness and joy into your life. I think that's I don't, because you're getting rid of alcohol, which is a big thing. That's a big thing to get rid of. But if you get rid of it and you bring in lots of joy and things that support and nourish you and nurture you, I think you're winning. So that's how I look at it. That's how I look at my sobriety. I look at all the things that have come into my life that I know would not be here if I was still drinking. So
100%. What a beautiful thing.
yep.
And I mean, we wouldn't be talking about your business and we wouldn't be talking about creativity. God,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So how do people find you? What's the place you play the most on?
Yeah, so I have two places. My website, I'm always adding new content, purpledogsober.com. I have a blog. I put resource videos up there. It's kind of just a place if you want to, my stories up there. Like if you want to start vibing with me, that's a good place. Instagram, I'm pretty regular over there, and that just shows, some of the work I do in my sketchbook, some of the other things I like to do. I talk a lot. I have a lot of reels where I'm talking about whatever piece of sobriety that you need to, just those little tidbits that you can just help you get through your day or whatever. So that's what I do on Instagram. And then I also have a DIY guide that I sell, which is a 30-day exploring your relationship with alcohol. I sell it with you get a sketchbook and some paints and stuff. So you get your starter kit. So it just all comes to your door. It's a digital resource. So it's downloadable and it walks you through 30 days. So it gives you an activity or something to think about every day. You can do it in your sketchbook. It's about building new habits, rewiring your brain,
Same.
just kind of figuring stuff out. And it's a 30-day thing you can do. You don't have to wait until, I know we're in dry July now. You don't have to wait for any month though. You can start in, yeah, dry July, sober October, dry January. But it could be whatever. You don't have to
Any
wait
month
for
is a
that month,
perfect month.
right? So pick whatever month you want. Pick the middle of the month. I don't know. You don't have to wait for something to start. But it just, yeah, exploration, curiosity, seeing what happens, really.
I love that. I love all of this. I think this was really such an important and lovely conversation for us to have, to explore, the elements of being sober. I've done it a couple of times, like once when I was pregnant and once when I did a
Yeah.
fitness
Yep.
competition. It was almost like a full year of no drinking and I felt fantastic. But as soon as I came off stage, what did I celebrate with?
Yeah.
Champagne. I'm like, it's the bubbles. It really is the bubbles for
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Bubbles.
Yep.
It's like the fizzy stuff. So, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful energy, your insights, your inspiration with the audience. I know they're going to love it. I know they're going to have questions. So, everyone, I will make sure to link the things we've talked about below so you can go and find those resources and step into the things that feel
Yeah.
really beautiful for you. Thank you for being with me today on Lady
Thank
Creators.
you. It was
Thank you for
great. Thank you so much.
sharing insights. Okay, everyone, thank you.